Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Frenchie's Art Gallery, located on historic Oak Street beside the Maple Leaf Bar. With over 3,000 square feet of space, it features a large gallery front room and Frenchie's personal art studio. Frenchie's Art Gallery is also connected to the Maple Leaf Courtyard, which is ideal for the New Orleans night scene. Frenchie's Art Gallery, 8314 Oak Street. Yeah, you're right.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and I am so happy to be back in the saddle again. Last week was our first show literally in 26 months. Today's show number 2, and I couldn't be happier about this one as well. Hey, listen, let's start with the Saints, though. The Saints OTA started today. That means this is the unofficial start, really, of practice. You got these OTAs going on for the next 3 weekends, and then you have mini camp coming and a training camp right after that. So get ready for all that. But speaking of football, I want to go back to the LSU National Championship in 2019. That game was played in January 2020. 53 different LSU Tiger players got into that game. And the reason I say that, because today, when OTAs are going on, there are 38 of those players on that team that played in that game out of the 53 that are on NFL rosters today. That, to me, is simply a remarkable number, and that shows you the power of that particular team that year. What a great, great squad that Ed Orgeron had in that national championship year. Hey, let's speak about LSU baseball now. The team started a little slow. They had a new manager, right? Well, man, they finished the season crazy strong. After losing 3 against Ole Miss the weekend before, they swept Vanderbilt in one of the greatest games I've ever seen on Saturday to get the sweep. They were down 6-0. They won 21-10, including 11 runs in the 8th inning alone to go from 9-7 down to 18-9 up, and they ended up winning that one 21-10. But that team has some players that got some honors. How about Dylan Cruz? Last year, he was the freshman of the year in the country. Now, he's the co-player of the year in the SEC. He's also on the all-defensive team. Jacob Berry, second team. He's a transfer, obviously from Arizona with his coach. He's the third baseman. Second team all SEC. Trey Morgan is on. He's the defensive on the first team all defensive team for LSU as well in the SEC. LSU is going to play the winner of the number 5 game, Auburn, in the SEC tournament. That's going to be tomorrow. That win got them the 4th seed, so they didn't have to play today against Kentucky. So now they get the winner of that game tomorrow. And also Southeastern. Can I tell you what they've done? Incredible run. They beat, after being down 3-0 to UNO, they beat them in 10 innings just the other day. They're going to be in the finals against McNeese, best 2 out of 3 for the Southland Conference. We have a great show. Ervin Johnson, not Magic, but this guy is a local legend. Ervin Johnson played for UNO. He was the first-round pick in '93 with the Sonics, played for 13 seasons in the NBA. There he is with Tim Floyd. What a great guy. We also have Tulane head coach Ron Hunter and 2 of my favorite musicians in the city of New Orleans, Derrick, Freeman, and James Martin, next on Primetime Sports. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. We had a great show last week, and a couple of our guests, well, they coached this guest. And obviously the head coach, Tim Floyd, who started one of his first coaching jobs at UNO. He hired a guy named John Brady, who ended up coaching LSU, but he was an assistant in one magical year that UNO had that great run in the early 90s. And one of the main reasons why is the guy sitting next to me. Ervin Johnson, 13-year NBA career, but before that, they went to the NCAA tournament, NIT, several times when he was at UNO, and he had a great career, and we know his great story. We're going to get into a little bit of that later, but here he is right now. Ervin, not Magic Johnson, but the better one. But the better one right there. First of all, we got to go there because you grew up, when Magic was coming out of, college, you probably were a kid, right?
Yep.
So what do you remember about him, and did you see him at all play when he was in college, or when did you first know who he was?
I watched Magic and Showtime with the Lakers. I was always a 76ers fan, Dr. J fan.
Yes.
And watching him beat the Sixers so many times, and it was.
But the Sixers had his number a little bit.
They had
early.
his number, but Magic as a rookie came and won the championship, that rookie year, and I was sad,
But you had the same name.
Same name.
Ervin Johnson's not a common name. Johnson's common, but Ervin not. He had the extra A in there. You didn't have that, but it sounds the same. So when he was coming up.
Yes, but I wasn't born with the last name Johnson.
Okay, you weren't. Okay.
Yes, in the indirectly way, but, my dad was a Johnson.
Okay.
And my mother was a Curry. So we went in her last name until my sophomore, junior year in high school.
Which would have been what year?
I graduated in 85, so probably around 84, 83.
Right.
My mom and my dad made a decision that let all the kids go into his last name.
I got it, right on.
Who was in his last name, but I didn't take it on until I graduated because I didn't want everybody to be confused about either somebody new or whatever. So I just stayed in Curry until I graduated from high school.
I'm learning something here. I like it.
A lot of people don't know that. And then when I graduated from high school, then I took on Johnson.
You didn't get to UNO till the late 80s. What was it after high school? What were you doing, and what were you doing in high school? Because, I don't think you played basketball during high school, right?
I didn't play no basketball in high school. Did I like basketball? Yes.
Right.
I just didn't have the interest. I didn't have that heart and the desire and the work at that time to go play basketball. The head coach wanted me to play, but it just wasn't my interest. I still watched it. I still played in the playground and all of that in the park.
So you were playing some basketball.
But it was in all of that. I was still a fan of the game. It's just that I didn't want to play in high school. And then 3 years after I graduated from high school, I made the decision.
You had a growth spurt. Like in high school, I'm listening to what Tim Floyd said last week. I know some of it might have been some embellishment because he's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
But
he's a great dad.
Yeah. But the fact is he says you were 6'2" in high school, and then what happened? When did the spurt happen? The 6'11"?
Actually, from the freshman year to my senior year in high school, I was constantly growing a lot.
Okay.
I was 6'2" from my freshman year. My senior year in high school, I was 6'7".
Wow. Okay.
And then I grew another 4 inches after that.
Wow.
Wow. To be 6'11" and 3/4.
So when did you get almost 7 feet?
The time I was in the grocery store, that 3-year period from high school in 85 until I decided to go to UNO, I was constantly growing.
We'll talk about the grocery store because I think there's a number of people that are watching this that didn't see it last week and don't know your story. And now that this has been over 30 years, I think it's a good time to talk about it because I think it's the most fascinating story ever. If Tim Floyd's story was even 80% true, because he says you just walked into his office.
Which was true,
Which is crazy. Okay, just go back and tell us.
My dad was a tractor trailer driver for 30 years, over 30 years, and he retired. And his company was here in New Orleans, and I was working for the company. I used to clean the tractor trailers and all of that when they come in the yard and all of that. But the business was slowing down.
Yeah.
So what happened, I got laid off. And I got on the RTA bus not knowing my next direction.
You just got on the bus?
Got on the bus, going to my dad's house, out, uptown. And I got off on the wrong stop. And I started walking. And I just started saying, God, what is next for me? I was kind of in tears, because I just got laid off and all of that. I was in tears. And the next thing I heard was, go call your sister. Who was newly married in Baton Rouge. She's just newly married, and they moved to Baton Rouge from Jonesville. Wow. So I called her, and she said, you can come and live with us, and she just had a new baby and all that. I went to Baton Rouge. The same day I went there, my brother-in-law at that time, his second job was working in that grocery store.
A&P?
He said, A&P grocery store. And he said, come and go with me. I said, I got to go in at 5 o'clock. And you can just come and just, hang around me while I'm working. Went there, he introduced me to the boss there, and they gave me the job the same night. So I started the next day.
The Lord was working in mysterious ways.
He orchestrated everything.
Yes.
I didn't understand what was going on. Sometimes our fall in life, sometimes our disappointments in life is where our success starts. But we don't.
So true.
We just don't know all of it.
You don't know.
And how it's all going to piece together. So, I got the job. I was there for 3 years. I started off as a stock clerk, but they wanted me to bag groceries. I taught myself how to do everything in the store. I even cleaned toilets. I worked in the meat department. I did produce.
I love grocery stores, by the way.
Absolutely.
I love them.
And it was the perfect place. I grew up as a man, as a young man, out of high school, confused, not going to college, didn't really have a sense of direction, what I wanted to make out of myself, all of that. And God had a plan, and I trusted that plan, and He orchestrated it to.
So this was in Baton Rouge. So the A&P manager got all excited because that A&P basketball team just got a lot better.
Yes.
He's like, look at this, I got a 7-footer. Just popped in.
Yeah.
So the Tim Floyd thing. So I hear that he says, I've been calling 7-footers nonstop. No one's coming to UNO. All of a sudden, the liquor salesman or something that he knows was up in Baton Rouge and said he saw this guy, and that guy apparently told you that Tim Floyd needed a big man, and you walked into his office the night before signing day. How much of that's true? And even if it's not, tell us what happened.
For 3 years, I got to know a lot of people in the grocery store. And Paul Bologna, that had a liquor company, his family liquor company.
Yeah.
I got to know him and his wife very well.
Right.
And he used to always say, make sure my shelves always stocked and all that. I said, yeah, I'll make sure. I didn't know he was coming back and forth to Baton Rouge, to New Orleans, to his stores, and I didn't know that. I didn't have an asked question.
Sure.
But during those 3-year period, I had a lot of customers say, what are you doing here? You 6'11", do you play basketball? Why are you not playing basketball? You should further education through basketball. The more and more they was telling me that and giving me advice, the more and more I was saying, God, what is it you have for me?
Right.
What is it? And it took them 3 years to reveal it. I thought the 3 years was all about me growing up and preparing me for what was ahead.
Yes. Okay.
That I was going to college and what I had to deal with in college professionally, which I didn't know I was going to go play professional basketball. That was not my goal. So I was just constantly saying, God, what is it? What is it? What is it? Is this for me? What do you have for me? And the day Paul came in there, a lot of people don't know this part of the story. The day Paul Bologna came in there, it was the day that my rent was due, and I told the people that, my rent was behind. I said, I get paid on this day.
Right.
I'd be in there at 3 o'clock, but then I had to work late. By me working late, I couldn't get there in time. So when I got there, all my stuff was out on the curb.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
It was heartbreaking. I was devastated. I cried as a young man. Kind of bring me to tears now.
No, I hear you, man. I feel you.
God had a plan, and I had to trust that plan.
So what happened right then?
I called my sister. We got a U-Haul. We put it in storage, and Paul Bologna told me that UNO needed players. I'm sorry.
No, this is wonderful because you're reliving this moment.
Yes.
And it's I can feel this. So you went down to UNO?
I went to UNO and knocked on Tim Floyd's door. He thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
He asked me my name. I told him my name, Ervin Johnson. He thought it was Magic Johnson or somebody playing a joke. All that stuff was true what he said.
Yeah.
He took me he said, where have you been? Tell me if you play high school, whatever. I said, I never played high school basketball and all of that. And I said, I worked in the grocery store. I'm working in the grocery store, trying to take care of myself, help my family. And he said, well, you took me to the gym, which you didn't supposed to,
right.
Right.
It's 30 years anymore.
He asked me, did I know how to pivot, and I didn't know all that.
So that's true.
All of that stuff
the
is
hook
true.
Shot, he said
I didn't know none of that. I watched the game, I knew the game, but the terminology of all of that. And he said, can you run? He lined me up on the baseline. He told me to run, which I was very athletic and I could run.
Yeah.
He asked me, could I jump? I stood up there and jumped and touched the rim or whatever, close to the square or whatever it was at that time.
His eyes lit up when he saw you do all these things. He was like,
and he gave me the scholarship, and he said, I need you back here, the next day or whatever. And I said, I can't do it.
That was heartwarming, this part.
I couldn't do it.
But the reason why? Because you had to give 2 weeks notice.
Yes, I worked hard. Those people was very dear to me and took good care of me. Even though I was making $3.35 an hour, I only got one raise in 3 years. But I didn't complain. I didn't gripe and mope about anything. All my faith and all of my trust was in God. I put everything on his lap. You know, for me, it tears me up because that's who I trust.
No, that's who you are, man. When Tim told me the story, the reason why, because Tim was like, he just doesn't get it. I tell him I'm giving a scholarship, come the next day. And I said, why? And he goes, because he said he had to give his boss 2 weeks notice. I just went, this is when you know you got the guy you need. This kind of integrity and a guy that's going to care that much about what somebody helped him out in his tough time. Man, that is heartwarming. Yes. And so did you go do the 2 weeks?
Yes, I did it.
All right.
I wasn't going to show up at UNO campus until I finished that, because I was not going to burn no bridges, and I knew that if this didn't work out, I can go back there and return. I told my boss that what I was doing. He was happy for me. And the next thing he said, now I got to go invest in a ladder. So it was like, okay.
He didn't need a ladder.
He didn't need a ladder.
That's hilarious.
And he was a tough boss. He never gave me a compliment. He was always on me about why the buggies in the lot, why I wasn't there, why this and that. And I just stayed quiet, and I just did my job and didn't complain or whatever. And
see, I'd been complaining.
I came through. He asked me, could I do the cash register when the lines was back up, and I just taught myself by watching. And it's.
Hey, I remember the $3.35 an hour days, though.
$3.35, and they don't have no idea, but I made $4 when I left, so I was grateful for that.
I worked at Haagen-Dazs. I started at 3. When I got to $3.35, I was Cabbage Patch.
Yeah.
Right, I was excited. So you got to UNO, and all of a sudden, this is the part that kind of blows me away. You didn't know what a pivot foot was. You didn't know what a hook shot was. And all of a sudden, you go to a team and became a superstar on a team. I'm living in D.C. when you first got there. I remember coming back to Louisiana for law school. I remember coming down to games from Baton Rouge just to watch y'all play. And I'm like, I kept hearing about this dude, Ervin Johnson, and I couldn't believe your athletic ability. I was like, whoa, I mean, this guy's off the charts. So when did you realize you were going to be pretty good basketball player? And then when did you realize, hey, I might be great at this?
But, you know, before then, Tim ain't tell you this part of it.
Okay.
After my first year, Tim called me in his office. And he said, Ervin, you know, you're a nice young man, all of that. You work hard, but you have so far to go, you know, for skill-wise.
Right.
And he said, I recommend that you go to a junior college, and then I bring you back in 2 years. He said, go talk to your parents and all of that. And I told him, I looked him in his eyes, and I told him I wasn't doing it. He said, go talk to your parents. I said, I'm not doing it.
Right, okay.
And he said, just get in the gym and work. He said, I'm going to put a toss back out in the middle of the corner, out in the corner. He said, use it if you want to use it.
Toss back meaning like you took
toss
shots
back,
and popped
yes.
back
He said, you know, there's a certain time that they can be in the gym with you, so I had to do it on my. So I just worked. That was a motivation thing for me. And I was like, I said it to myself, but not to him. I said, who is this to tell me that I can't do this, I'm not good enough?
Right.
It lit a fire. Tim had a way of doing things, I don't know, directly, indirectly, how to get up underneath my skin, but I was always respectful, and it just like, I'm going to show you.
You're going to show him.
And I kept it quiet. I didn't say it to nobody. I just kept it quiet to myself, and I said, I'm going to show you, and I just worked. And I never had NBA on my mind. I just say I'm going to just outwork everybody. They can have the skills, but work ethic is going to out.
But you had the athletic ability.
I had the athletic ability, but I had the drive, I had the heart, I had the work ethic.
Right.
And I was just like, he used to have me always take out the recruits in my position and all that. But they never could take my spot. It wasn't going to take my spot.
Right, nice.
They was not going to do it. They wasn't tough enough. They were skilled, but it wasn't tough enough. They didn't have the grit. They didn't have the grind. And I was just going to kick the A. That's the bottom line.
And you did. By the time you left, you're averaging 19 a game.
Yep.
So what point there from this guy that has to use the bounce back machine to get his skills together to where you were like All-American type player. You were the player of the year in the conference twice, Sun Belt Conference. I remember that.
It was always a turning point in my career or in my life that got me to the next level. The turning point of my confidence and all of this happened was when I broke my wrist. Failing, falls in life, losing everything, those things or those times that was going to either make you or break you.
Yes, yes.
And failure is the beginning of success.
When did you break your wrist?
I broke my wrist the beginning of the sophomore season. You know, we started school in August, beginning of the season, they had open gym, you know, where you pick up and all that. Coaches couldn't be in there.
Sure, sure.
And we was playing with my teammates and everything. I was on the left side of the hoop in transition. My teammate was on the right. They threw me the ball up to me on the break, and I knew it was nobody in between me and that basket. But I saw the guy coming from the side.
Oh my goodness.
We met at the rim, and I dunked the ball and we collided in midair. And I came down and I said, I kind of felt something like that, and I shook my wrist. And I think I went in coach's office and all of that, and trainers, and they said they needed to get me to the hospital. Sure. They knew I had shattered the bones. I had broke about 4 or 5 bones. I still have the scars.
And you were just getting good at this point.
I had a 6.6 rebound my freshman year.
Right.
And I was coming back my sophomore year. I was feeling good about myself and all of that, and I broke my wrist. The doctor said he probably would never play again because I had shattered in so many places. He said, you probably ain't going to play this year either anyway. I didn't listen to that doctor. I had no disrespect to doctors.
No, I hear you.
I was laying in the hospital bed and I had my hand displaying up there like this, waiting for the doctor to come and see me. He said, you just shattered it too much. The season is over. And I said, God, you didn't tell me that.
This is amazing, man.
He didn't tell me that. I said, God, you didn't tell me that.
Right, right.
I didn't miss a game.
You didn't miss a single game. You played with
I had a cast. The doctors, the PT told me what I needed to do. I had a 5-gallon bucket. They said either fill it up with rice or sand and get the flexibility. And I just did it. Started the season. I played, and I thank God for it.
Shooting hand?
Shooting hand.
That's crazy, man.
I still don't have my thumb, don't have all of it. But, it stiffens up still to this day.
Yeah.
You can tell I don't have it, So all of those things was, it was a turning point for me. I went on, had my numbers double, and then I got selected to be, to go to Colorado to try out for the world team.
Right.
And I'm playing against all these North Carolinas, Wake Forest, Duke, all of these players. It was like 64 of us.
That was around 90, right?
Or 90.
And because 86 it was in Baton Rouge. Yeah,
yes, Colorado. And I went there, and P.J. Calissimo was going to be the coach of Seton Hall.
And he just got to the finals year before.
Yep, and he, I believe he called Tim and said he wanted me. Now, during that trial time, the guys was hanging out, doing stuff. I was just getting my rest, eat. I stayed to myself. All of that. I was focused. I was driven. And I got out on the court for practice during that time and just kicked their butt, outran them, outworked them. P.J. Calissimo said he wanted me on the team. Played on the world team, won a gold medal. Then when I got back from that, they had a team that was going back to Europe. NIT team, and they asked me to join that. So I left that, had a few days off, and I practiced with the team, and I went back there. We had a great time. It was a great summer for me.
Oh, my God, that's a turning point.
It was an unbelievable summer for me. That was the turning point. But the turning point was me breaking my wrist, where I had to still trust God no matter what.
Yeah.
Through that. It didn't waver my faith and confidence. It was just that I still trust you.
I mean, you doubled your stats to 12 or 13 points, but then you went from that to 2-time Sun Belt Player of the Year. So that obviously was a huge catalyst for you.
Yes, it was, and it was. I just stayed focused. I knew how to stay focused.
That's a card. That might have been your first card. I mean,
that probably it is. And it was. I just stayed focused. I'm more driven, and I can stay focused and lock myself in, and I can see what everybody's doing. I can hear what everybody. saying, but I can just stay focused and don't keep all the focus on myself.
Now take me back to the guy that 5 years earlier didn't know what a pivot foot was, didn't know the terminology of a hook shot. Now you're about to be drafted into the first round into the National Basketball Association. Was it the Seattle Supersonics?
Yes.
Who were a phenomenal team, by the way. They were always good, and then they got great a couple years later and went to the finals against Chicago. But you got to the Sonics, and just going into the league, you got some great players you're playing with. What was this like, man?
My rookie season, it was like deer in headlights.
Sure.
You be a number one pick, overall in the first round, and you go there. I'm playing against Sean Kemp, guys I watched on TV, Gary Payton,
Detlef
Schrempf, Michael K, Sam Perkins, all of those guys, and I'm just like, wow. And George Carr came up to me my rookie season. He said, because you still our first round draft pick, you're going to sit and watch. And I'm looking at him, and I'm just like, okay. No matter you, the future, and all of that, you're going to sit and watch. It made me mad, and I was angry, but it was the best thing for me. And it lit another fire up underneath for me. I try to tell you.
Use motivation well, don't you?
Yes, because, listen, you have to have something burning inside of you, driving you to keep working, all of that. And it was the best thing happened to me. And I had Nate McMillan that he said, Ervin, you're getting better. George Carr, he blamed everything on rookies.
Sure.
Everything was my fault, and I couldn't understand it. But I had great veterans that say, don't listen to it, just keep working, keep working. And the next year, I played more. And then the next year, I started all 82 games, and we went to the NBA Finals and all of that. So it was, everything was what I needed.
I watched The Last Dance again for the second time last week before Tim Floyd was on, and George Carl, Michael Jordan said, the one thing that motivated me, because those Carolina guys are strong. They're both Carolina guys, MJ and, of course, George Carl.
Headstrong.
But George Carl walked right by him before game one and didn't even say hello. Like he was trying to do some mind games with Michael. Michael looked at him and goes, oh, if I didn't need motivation. So that one backfired on Carl, but he must have loved you because wasn't he the coach of Milwaukee when they got you, right? So you went somewhere in between, maybe the Nuggets?
Yes, I was with played 3 years in Seattle. I was a free agent.
Right.
And I thought I wanted to stay in Seattle.
Right.
And I thought I had a great 3 years and all of that.
Yeah.
And they had like 5 or 6 free agents, so they chose not to bring me back.
Sure. So
the Nuggets stepped up, gave me what I thought I was worth, and all of that. Went there, I thought I was going to be, the nucleus and the future of the team.
Right.
Alfonso Ellis and Antonio McDyess.
Yeah.
And they, after one season, they decided to part with me, so they traded me to Milwaukee.
But was Carl at Milwaukee then?
He was not. Chris Ford was the head coach.
Chris Ford was head coach. Okay.
And there was noise that Chris Ford was possibly going to get fired.
Right.
And I told my wife at that time, I said, they're going to get George Carr. I told her that, and 2 or 3 days later, I'm watching the news, and George Carr was the head coach.
Well, let me say this, because I love those Milwaukee teams. This is like Big Dog, and you had Ray Allen.
And Sam Cassell and Tim Thomas. That
was a fun team.
Young.
So, you were there for a long time, I believe. Yeah. Like 5-6 years at least, right?
I was there for 7 years. But first I was there 6 straight years.
Yeah.
And then I went to Minnesota for 2, and I went back to Milwaukee.
You went back and then you ended your career there.
Yeah, so when George got the job, we was on a lockout. That was during the time it was a lockout. 98, 99.
Yeah.
And they allowed coaches to call the players because we was getting close to the lockout being over. So George called me, and he said, Ervin, I want to come, to sit down and talk to, because he was going around talking to all his players. So he called me. And I said, okay, I'm in Denver. He said, I'm going to stop by in Denver. I've invited him over to the house. He came on. We had brunch. And he said, Ervin, I want you to be a part of this, Sam and Glenn and all of that. And I said, I'm looking forward to it. And I got a few things off my chest because I was still mad at George because they didn't sign me back. And I said, George, I'm looking forward to, something new and all of that. And we had a great relationship.
I have to say something funny because when I leaned over to pick up something a little while ago, I must have disconnected my earpiece because I kept thinking, I'm waiting for the producer to tell me this interview's going on quite a while.
Sorry.
It felt like it had, but he usually tells me you got 5 minutes. And I'm like thinking, all of a sudden I saw this pop up. I'm thinking to myself, isn't this going long? Yeah. But man, this has been amazing. I can't thank you enough. You came down here. I mean, you're taking care of your mother, which is a phenomenal thing. I don't have parents, so when I hear this kind of story, she's 80.
She's 80 years old. I've been in Colorado for over half of my life. I went through a divorce, and I heard this small voice saying, your mother is waiting on you. And I told myself many, many years ago I would not move back to Louisiana for nothing. And when I heard that voice, I broke down and cried like a baby. And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm on my way, but it won't be for another year. Wow, and I'm so grateful that I'm back in Louisiana, looking after her, serving her, and I get a chance to spend more time with my siblings and rekindle relationships and friendships and all of that. And I'm looking forward to going to UNO games and getting around this, that institution that gave me my start and that I owe so much to. So I'm looking forward to all of that.
Well, I'm going to go to some UNO games with you because I love
You'll see me right there. I'll be right there watching.
Task performance, I don't know if you have any of these. This one's going to be a little small for you, so I'll make up for you, give you
That's
two
okay.
in the mail.
I appreciate it.
But this is a gift we usually give our guests.
Appreciate it.
I don't have my new stock yet. But the fact is I thank you, man.
I appreciate for having me.
This has been very warm. And,
Absolutely.
And I can't even thank you enough for sharing what you share because it's been amazing. My man, that is Ervin Johnson, and he is the real magic, in my opinion. So I do appreciate him coming. Coming up next, we're going to stay on the basketball theme this show. We're going to go with our new head coach, not new head coach, but the new head coach, meaning the best season they've had in many years, Ron Hunter, the Tulane basketball head coach, coming up next right here on Primetime Sports.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my, oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At Mid-City Lane's the home of rock and roll.
Hey, don't forget my pimento cheese. Of course.
It's okay. I'll take it from here.
Hey, you got your receipt. For the love of palmetto cheese.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. I want to thank Ervin Johnson. What a great guest he is. But my next guest, this is his third time here, and he's only coached the Green Wave for 4 years. I think this is going into his fourth season. His name is Ron Hunter. He's the Tulane coach. You remember him also at Georgia State, where he took them to the NCAA tournament and had some memorable times there with his son, RJ. But here he is. Welcome back. How you been, buddy?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me back.
It is good to see you.
Glad to be back now.
I actually, we'll show them later, but I have some shots of us actually having a couple dinners during pandemic time with John Brady. Obviously, we had one recently. We had the Final Four, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Some of the coaching buddies came in, Tim Floyd and all them. But how you been? How you been, bud?
You know, man, a couple of COVIDs and some hurricanes and building a program. Things have it's been busy, but things are going well for us over at Tulane.
This is actually the third studio I've had you because I had you in right when you got the gig, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I think you just got here. Mm-hmm. Welcome to New Orleans on that one. Then I had you in the other Loyola studio, but now we're here. How about this view, bud? We got it going on right now.
I tell you what, COVID's been good to you. You got a raise, man. Look at you. You got the nice view. And
I got that raise yet, but we're working on that one, baby. We're working on it.
You're doing great.
Talk about New Orleans. I know we talked about it when you just got here, but now you've been here a few years. What's it like?
Well, it's funny because although I've been here a couple years, this is the first Mardi Gras that I've been able to have.
Right on.
The first Jazz Fest that we've been able to have. So this is the first time I've actually enjoyed the city. And so when I got here, of course, COVID hit, and then when things started to settle down. Then last year we were displaced because of the hurricane for a month over in Birmingham.
Right.
So it's been a wild ride, but I love the city, having a lot of fun. I love coaching at Tulane, and things are starting to really turn for us, and people are coming back and watching the game. I've got a really, really good basketball team, something we hadn't said in a few years, and at Tulane.
It was fun to be in that gym this year. It really was. I'm going to take you back to when you got the job. But we have some shots there. When you first got introduced as the head coach, welcome. There you are right there. I don't know if you can see all, but yeah. But what was going through your head then, as far as, okay, I've got this job. I had some success in Atlanta at Georgia State. I'm coming to New Orleans. This has been kind of a graveyard for coaches in basketball. What was going through your head then, and then relate to where you are now?
Well, back then, I didn't know a whole lot about, I knew the past a little bit, but, again, remember, I'm a Midwestern guy. Even coming from Georgia State, I was first time I'd ever been in the South and been in Georgia, and so then I get a little further south and come here, and so again, I love jobs where people say that it can't be done.
Yes.
When I first got here, I had so many people tell me you can't win at Tulane, you can't do this, you can't do that. Same thing they told us at Georgia State, same thing they told us at Indiana at IUPUI. Now if you look at our recruiting classes and look at what we've done and the teams that we beat and where we are, some of those same people, especially coaches that said this was a bad job, they want my job now.
So, they want this job.
Yeah, they want my job now. So
look at that.
Interesting how things work, but no, it's going really well. Like I said, the thing that was tough is that I couldn't enjoy the city, and so now I'm really getting an opportunity to go to some of the best restaurants and enjoy this city. And I'm actually even today on vacation, but because of you, man, I decided I'm going to come and do this for you today, and so.
Well, I appreciate that. Tell people what you got going today with your beautiful wife, because we actually have a shot, I think, of her celebrating with you when y'all beat Baylor, third seed that time. But yeah, tell people what you got going today.
Well, because we haven't had a lot of time trying to build this program. Has been, it's a lot of work. And so I said, listen, I'll give you this week and whatever you want. So today, for my first day, we're going to do a spa day. I have no idea what that really means.
It means you get pampered. You spend a lot of money.
I do know that she said, do this. And so she has no idea I'm here. I told her I was going to go into the store real fast. And so,
I'm going to get some milk.
I'm going to get something to eat. I'll be right back. And so I got to get back so we can hang out the rest of the day.
She's watching you on TV. You son of a gun. If you got a spa day, a nice dinner, just know it ain't going to be just 3 figures. Okay, bring that 4th figure because it's not going to be cheap. So last year was a huge breakout year. I mean, it was fun to watch. We mentioned the gym was alive again. I grew up here, and I remember the late 70s, early 80s. It was packed gym all the time. I mean, John Hot Rod Williams, you had Paul Thompson, you had some ballers. But this year, man, the magic was back. It truly was. Talk about this team and talk about what it felt like from being kind of a tombstone almost when you're here the first couple of years, and to what that crowd was like this year.
Well, one of the first things you have to do, especially when you're in an urban institution, and I call Tulane urban because we're right in the city, is that you gotta involve the city. You gotta win here on campus first, and in the city, and then you gotta have some people to attract them. And we've got good players. I thought bringing Jalen Cook in, and a guy from the state, and we're really recruiting the city and the state a lot better than it's been done in the past, and that's helped. But winning, and it's an exciting brand of basketball. When you come to one of our games, you're going to be entertained, and just by showing by the people that are coming. So, but winning helps, and we've got really, really good players, and we've got really, really good local players also. And again, I think that all that helps.
Yeah, Jalen Cook. I remember the day he came, and I'm like, whoa, that's going to be kind of like that quarterback they got a few years ago from LSU. And he's an LSU guy. You got Jalen Forbes from Alabama. I believe he might have been the leading scorer. If not, he was right up there. And then Kevin Cross. Talk about these guys and what they've meant for your program and what they do individually that makes them special.
Well, they're really talented, and all 3 of them, had some problems at the previous places they were at. That's probably my wife. She probably just saw me on TV right now. And
she's looking at you.
She's calling right now to say, hey, listen, what's going on? I thought we had a spa day today. So
keep me off camera, y'all. My phone's filming here. All right. Yeah, that's Ervin Johnson. All right. Hey, buddy, I'll call you right back. All right. So anyway, back to this though. Listen, with when you got hired by Troy Dannon, what was the expectation like when he got the job?
Well, there's expectations that you get from the administration. There's expectation that I put on myself, and I said that I didn't want to take this job unless I felt like I can get into the Sweet 16. We were regularly going to the NCAA tournament at Georgia State, and so it was really important for me that my next move that it gave me. I wanted to be in a multi-bid league, and have an opportunity that when we get to the NCAA tournament that we can win games. And I still believe that's going to happen for us. This year's team, I'll be honest with you, may be the best team I've had since that Baylor team that I had we beat Baylor,
the 3 seed,
with my son in that group. So I feel like this team is really comparable to that team. And so when you're coaching, think about it, I've been a head coach for over 30 years, and I think this is probably one of the most talented teams I've had in regards to. I've got 3 all-conference guys coming back. We've got a young man that's transferring from Georgetown. That's a Louisiana young man.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Colin Holloway that played.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Averaged 10 points a game for Georgetown past year. So you add him to that mix that we've got coming back. We've got over 90% of our scoring coming back.
Right.
So everything's set, man. I think the only thing that can really derail us is coaching. And so, so as long as that coach doesn't mess it up, man, I think we got a chance to be good.
He just practices a little more than
get that coach working, man. We got a chance.
Hey, as far as I think of father-son moments, and I know we talked about this one of the other 2 times you're on, but I want to bring it back up because that moment with RJ, when I think of father-son moments in sports, I'm not talking just basketball, in sports, when he hit that big shot, you guys are hugging on the court. I mean, go back to that, because I know a lot of people that are watching this show did not see that one. Kind of go back to that moment, what it meant, how big that moment was, first of all, and then then when it just got, and your family was celebrating with y'all too. Yeah,
it's people ask me all the time, when your son plays for you, when you're in Little League and you got your son, or AAU or soccer or football, and you coach your son, imagine it doing it at the highest level, at college. And so it's not always easy, coaching your son is, and especially
helps when he's an NBA type player.
Well, you think it does, but even then, you don't want to have the favoritism, so then, you treat your child a little different.
That's true.
We laugh now because my son played with me for 3 years because he left early. He never called me coach, but he never called me dad.
Okay.
And so for 3 years, it was just like, hey, and so because he felt weird calling me coach, and he didn't want to do it in front of his teammates.
So there was nothing. He hope he didn't call you Ron.
No, he didn't call me anything. We just had eye contact. Hey, but it was now of course it's back to dad. But it was hard. And so by the time we got to the end and we're in the NCAA tournament, he hits the big shot and we advance in the tournament. It was kind of an emotional release for the entire family, because it was so stressful for those 3 years, because not only was he a good player, we were building and we're trying to do something at Georgia State, he was also trying to be an NBA player.
Yes.
And so with all the things that were going, and I still had to coach the other players on the team who were also had really good players and had aspirations.
Yes,
so it was just so hard to be able to do that, but it was so much fun at the end to be able to win a game with your son and to do all the things that we were able to get accomplished was terrific.
I'm gonna take you back to that moment against Baylor, and I know we're talking about Tulane, but this is a moment. And my son was a freshman at Georgia State, and his friend, who also, they played high school basketball together, but they were freshmen. They came in for spring break. And I'm doing a show at Deuce McAllister's restaurant. It's packed in there. NCAA games are going on the TV. And all of a sudden, it's like these 2 kids had Tourette's, because not everybody's watching that particular game. This game's on. And they just jump up and just start yelling and hooping and howling. Everybody's looking at them like, who are these dudes? But they were Georgia State freshmen. They were all fired up. And I want you to take us through that moment also. Was that the same game you fell off the stool right here?
Yeah, that's the
okay.
And that's the infamous falling off the stool.
We got some action shots. That's right there. And you had a big smile like you're breakdancing at the end right there.
Well, the funny part, why I actually was leaning. Of course, I tore my Achilles. And
right, you had
the coach on the stool.
Yeah.
But the official was kind of in my way when my son was coming down.
Right. Okay, so you couldn't see.
I couldn't see, and I'm leaning, and I'm trying to tell my son, I'm trying to call a timeout. The crazy part, we didn't have a timeout left.
So
if he called a timeout, we're going to lose and get a technical.
Wow.
But you got to remember, I'm coaching. I didn't have surgery at the time because I had just torn my Achilles. I'm on pain meds. I'm trying to coach a game in the NCAA tournament. I'm on pain meds. I'm trying to call a timeout. I'm leaning, and then the shot goes up.
I see it. Okay,
that's how I end up down on the floor.
That is so classic. This is the second straight week that a timeout has been in the conversation. We're laughing because Tim, it's about Tulane too. Tim and John were coaching at UNO together with the great Ervin Johnson, who was just here. And this went triple overtime game. And it would have ended, I think there's a picture of this game in your thing. Perry Clark was coaching Tulane. I think it was 92, 93. And Perry tried to call a timeout. But then they were looking at him, and then he goes, and he realized he had no timeouts. He goes, I was calling a play. So Tim Floyd was like, yeah, this is how I call all my plays.
That's such a Tim Floyd story.
But he got away with it because, whatever. So they went to overtime, they ended up winning. But that's crazy. Timeouts are big in the city.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris Webber right down the street.
That's exactly right.
Right there where the dome I'm looking at had the same thing.
Well, it's funny because think of how that whole dynamic changes. All that probably wouldn't happen for my family if my son actually listened to me.
Right.
So out of all the times your child doesn't listen, that's probably the one time I'm glad he did.
That's exactly what we talked about. Yeah. Things like these moments that this happens, all of a sudden you get a raise. Yeah. John gets that three-pointer to even go to the Sweet 16 that shouldn't have fallen. Tim Floyd was talking about a moment he had. It's nuts. Mm-hmm. It is crazy your profession because little things like that can change your life in a way.
No question.
Think about it. John Brady went to a Final Four. That's all people introduced him as Final Four coach. But if Daryl Mitchell hadn't hit this crazy shot in the second game of the tournament, he doesn't get there. Rick Pitino, I talked about last week. Billy Donovan hit some crazy shot when they were playing at Providence to get to the Final Four. So what does that feel like? All these things are riding on one guy hitting a shot possibly.
Yeah, that's why, you take the good and the bad, you take your blessings and understand them, and sometimes you don't understand them. That shot really changed my life and changed my son. He was a first-round draft pick for the Boston Celtics, and I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm coaching here. And I say that at Tulane based on that shot because, again, at that time, we had won a game in the NCAA tournament, and I wanted to be able to get to that next level. That next year we go back to the NCAA tournament, and we lost. And so part of it was like, man, I want to get back how do I get to the Sweet 16? What's that next level? So, again, if you hadn't won the game, I'd probably still be at Georgia State saying, hey, let's go, let's try to win another game and, there. And so everything happens for a reason.
It's so fascinating really to me. I truly 100% believe that. And going into this next year, like, I know you have high hopes. Like, what are some goals you sit there? I know you always say goal NCAA tournament. Let's go to Sweet 16. But, like, you realize you tasted success. You saw what this fan base can do if they get fired up. You saw what they did with the Pelicans. Obviously they're always there with the Saints, and you saw it at Tulane. So what's next for this?
Well, what's next is continue to win. I mean, that's again, I've got high expectations for this program. Regardless of where we're at, I love this town. I think, and it's funny. I was talking to Willie Green about this. I really truly believe this is a basketball city. Yeah. People act like it isn't, and so, but we all have to do our part with that. And so the first part is that when your local college team like Tulane is winning, you got the New Orleans Saints that are winning, and so I think there's a team in Baton Rouge, and we want them to continue winning.
What's that team called?
Yeah,
I don't even remember.
LSU. But again, I think that in this area, we've got to get it to the point. This is a great sports area. Football has been great with the Saints, and it's funny where without a baseball team, it's a great baseball town. Yeah. But one of the things that we've got to do is that I really believe this is a great basketball city, and so it's part of our job to make sure that we aren't back to what we used to be before I got here, where we're kind of a laughingstock. Those days are over at Tulane. So
I loved your confidence in the beginning, and you never back down on it. It's like, hey, we're going to win here. Yeah. Get used to it. Mm-hmm. And people are like, okay, we've heard this before, but we didn't hear it with that conviction that you gave. Which is amazing. Hey, Task, it's a Tulane grad.
Yes, he is.
The last All-American, the last All-Conference player that was in the SEC at Tulane. I don't know if you know that stat. Yeah. Task performance. And I've given you a couple before. How soft are those things?
Man, these are the best. Task are absolutely the best. And I'm not saying that because he's an alumnus and a basketball alumnus.
They're the best, dude. They're the best.
This is terrific. And so, I'm still waiting for my Task shirt that he's going to bring to me. I want an NIL. That's what I want, an NIL deal with Task.
Yes.
That's my thing. Forget Nike. I'm going to wear Task now. That's going to be my new thing.
Drew Brees, Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis. That's all they did was wear Task in press conferences. And now you're next. Hey, man, I love you. Thank you so much.
Buddy.
We're going to sign this. I don't have the pin with me. I know you've already signed that ball, but we're going to get you on the big Tulane helmet. And I want to thank you so much, Ron Hunter. Good luck this season.
Hey, remember, don't tell my wife that I was
right.
I'm at the grocery store, remember?
So you're at the grocery store, you're picking up some milk. And
yeah.
All right. That's Ron Hunter, everybody. You saw what a great personality is. He's a great recruiter and a phenomenal coach as well. Get out next season. Get your season tickets for the Tulane Green Wave because they're coming at you next fall. Hey, coming up next, my favorite guys. Remember I used to have a house band when this started? Kind of like the Johnny Carson show or Jay Leno or who's doing it now? Jimmy Kimmel? I'm getting old. Jimmy Fallon. But we used to have this band, not the Soul Brass Band, but guys that were in it. Guys that used to play for Kermit Ruffins and Trombone Shorty. James Martin, Derrick Freeman. They're coming next right here on Primetime Sports.
Sundays at 6:30 p.m.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports, and I've said this from the beginning. This is not just a sports show. This is a sports and entertainment show. New Orleans, South Louisiana, and we know down here in New Orleans, music is as big or bigger than sports, and that's why I love having musicians on. And these two right here are two of the very best we have in the Crescent City, and one of them gave me the idea to have a house band when I first started this show, and they were the two founding house band members, Derrick Freeman. My man, good to see you again. And
So good to
James
see you,
Martin,
Scott.
Great to be back.
saxophone and drums, and I'm sure they play a lot of other instruments as well. But man, it is good to see you guys. What do you think of the new Diggs?
Love it, man.
Right?
Yeah.
It's great.
So
here.
the first
Great view.
year of the show, and the only reason they didn't continue is because we had a small studio. The first year, y'all were there every single show. Yeah. I mean, that seems like, I don't know, sometimes it seems like 10 years ago, sometimes it seems like 3, but it was actually 6 years ago. Talk about that.
Oh, that was a blast. Yeah, we like you said, we were at your house in Harahan. We were watching football.
River Ridge.
River Ridge, sorry. I already know. Yeah, that's what I do. Anyway,
River Ridge.
I started as a frequent caller to your radio show, and I think we hit it off during one of the calls, and you were like, "Hey, man, you should just come on my." Down to my show.
One of the remotes, right?
Because our mutual friend of ours, Corrado, was running the wing place.
And I was doing shows at Wild Cafe,
there.
right?
And you were like, come on down. And then, like, at some point, I became a frequent guest of yours, and I think I even, like, co-hosted one or two of the shows.
You did, I remember.
So, at some point, you got an opportunity to get a TV show. And Rich at your house, and I was like, man, you should have a house band.
That's
man.
it.
Like a variety show.
And I immediately was like, it needs to be live, too.
Yeah.
We never got there because the pandemic knocked us out.
Right.
And he said, I got just a guy over here. I play with him a lot, and that's when I met you, James.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Those early mornings, late nights at the gigs, waking up early.
You guys are up all night. I'm up all night doing other stuff, getting ready for the show. All of us come in grumpy. We're like, oh, God, we got to get this thing done.
Yeah.
No, but I have fond memories, and I want to thank you guys. And I've loved watching y'all's careers blow up. I mean, honestly, y'all were already big at that point. But just to see, from afar, I'm seeing headlines, and you got a new album coming out. Yeah. I mean, with Smoker's World. I mean, tell us what's going on in your world since then.
So much. I mean, we've both been blessed to travel all over the world with our various lineups. James Martin Band. They do a lot of gigs.
Soul Brass Band.
And also Smoker's World. But I'm just saying, all three of these bands, we've done multiple gigs, around the country. And
I remember during Mardi Gras, y'all would go to Scandinavia every year or something, right?
We go a lot of places.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You've been around the world.
Yeah, and we just recently toured Colorado, which is weird because it's the first time we toured Colorado. But even though we've been to Israel and Turkey and Denmark and France, but never Colorado. It's just weird.
Istanbul,
which is weird. Yeah, it's just weird where the music takes you sometimes. You know, and I guess our music has like an international flair, so we've been blessed to be able to do our thing internationally. But it does feel really good to start to get recognition at home. Especially in New Orleans. And so both of us to have like headlining gigs at Jazz Fest.
I mean, how great was that?
It's incredible.
It was a great Jazz Fest.
Yeah.
I mean, just having it back, first of all, but being able to be on a bill, I mean, with your name on that little scripted thing, I mean, that's fun. And by the way, James, let me say this. When you're sometimes playing an instrument as well as you do, and saxophone, best in the city, by the way, I'm going to say this. People don't realize you can also sing and perform. And I'll never forget, you told me about 5 years ago, hey, I'm playing a gig, and I'll never forget, it was down the quarter, right there by Rampart. And I'm like, I'm watching you sing, and I'm watching you perform. There's some pictures of you right there doing your thing. I guess that wasn't posed at all. That's just natural. But the fact is, dude, you can sing. You have presence on stage. You got that whole thing. So how's your career going?
It's going really great.
Yeah.
We mentioned Jazz Fest. My first Jazz Fest was 20 years ago as a sideman. I've missed very few, maybe 2 or 3, not including the pandemic since then. But it was my first time to perform my own music with my own band, and that was really special to me.
I mean, y'all are now in the position, it's like I guess any profession where you're kind of an apprentice and you're learning. Or I'm going to say myself being an agent. I work for an agent, then all of a sudden I become my own agent, and then I branched off. I'm watching you guys. I mean, you played a lot with Great Kermit Ruffins. You played a lot with Trombone Sugar, but now you are those guys. I mean, you really are. I mean, now people are like, oh shit, I'm going to see I'm going to see my guy over here at Tipitina's. They're not just going to see Kermit. They're going to see y'all. I'm going to start with you. What does that feel like, Doug?
It feels great. I think validation is the word, you know?
Yeah.
Because you put in a lot of work. I mean, I like James, was a sideman for many years. And sideman life, there's a lot of perks that come with that because, you know, it's like no pressure. You know how it is. You know, when you're the third point guard on the team, you're like, we good. We winning championships.
I'm traveling. Hey.
Whole different gig.
Yeah, you know, but like.
I wouldn't know what the third point guard is. I don't know who the second. third. I'm never a third guy.
I was the third guy. Anyway, it's been really great. Like, for me, I think since the last maybe 4 or 5 years, like, the only projects I play in are projects that I run.
Nice.
There's a lot of pressure. Like, you know, it could be pressure, you know, financially or whatever. Yeah. Because I have to make sure that, like.
Now you're that guy.
Yeah, I have to be the guy. Yeah. I have to make sure all my guys are taken care of.
Right.
And it's a good feeling, though, to be able to, like, and it's funny getting to the point where, like, you know, when you're starting off and you're young and you have these projects, you know, there's a lot of like.
That's a good shot of you. I've always liked that.
Oh, I love that. There's a lot of like, no, or you guys aren't worth all that now. But like, it's getting weird for me because people don't say no that much. And you know me, I'm argumentative. You know this about me.
We know that about each other, man. That's why we love each other, baby.
But I'm like, wait, you're just gonna give me what I asked for? That's good.
Right. I thought we were about to bargain.
Right, exactly. So I'm starting to get used to that. Yeah. And it does feel great to be mentioned amongst those people, you know, because like, you know, I helped a lot of people along the way with their careers and build their name up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Which I was proud to do, which I was learning from them the whole time. James as well. Mm-hmm. We both were in that position for a long time. So to have the knowledge of what to do and what not to do, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Is beautiful.
So James, your progression, man. I mean, like now you're used to being a front man, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, but you know, when you're always playing, you know, all of a sudden, you know, you're not singing a whole lot. Now you're the dude. I want to hear from you what that feels like to be on stage and you're the guy having the presence.
It's very fulfilling. Like Derrick was saying, there's a lot of pressure in several different regards, but it's very fulfilling to get up there and to carry the crowd, carry the band, and this, you know, what I'm hearing in my head and this vision musically that I have to live that is really a dream. You know, that's what it's about.
When did you know you had it? Like, when did you? Because you might think in your head you have it, but when did you like get that crowd reaction? You're like, oh man, they're digging this.
It's not like a one-time thing. It's the small increments. You know, like we'd be there at a small little bar in the French Quarter, and you know, we start out with an empty room, and by the time we're done, the place is packed and people are dancing, and you know, so you start to feel it. You're like, okay, there's that validation there. I'm doing something right, because it's kind of hard, you know, promoting yourself and putting yourself out there. And what I do is very personal. Like the songs that I write, the lyrics that I write, it's my life. So when you put that out there, it's a little scary sometimes.
I have a proposition for you guys, because I think this is the third time y'all been on this set. I want to bring you back a fourth time when the Saints are playing in the fall. And obviously, we know that Ervin Johnson thing went like 5 minutes longer than I thought it was going to go. Actually, 7.
Yeah, great interview.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And by the way, a fellow UNO grad.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys.
Shout out to UNO, baby.
Yeah, the Privateers. We've been giving a lot of Privateer love on this show, and I'm glad, because I love UNO, and we had Tulane today. But no, I love you guys, dude. I want to bring you back, and I want to bring you back to where I have some more time.
Well, I can't wait. We'll talk about the Who That's.
The Who That's. I love it, man. Thank you, man. Dude, I can't thank y'all enough, because y'all were a big part of that early success. I mean, listen. Everybody's like, dude, the house band. I remember we moved to a smaller studio. They're like, no, dude, there's no room. Each shot, they're going to be in the background. I'm like, all right. But it's good to have you back, man. I'm so proud of y'all and so happy for you more than anything.
Proud of you, too, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thank you. These guys are the best, man. I can't thank them enough. James Martin, Derrick Freeman, Smokers World, James Martin Band, and the Soul Brass Band. They have so many more projects as well. Check them out. Tipitina's this Friday night. Both of them are playing, and this might be the first time they've been together, but I want to thank everybody out there. Of course, everybody that does stuff behind the scenes, Ron and Jim at WLAE, Will Hill, I can't thank you enough. It's so good to be back here. And, of course, Logan and Alex, too. Hey, I'm Scott Alexander. Next week, we'll be back for more Primetime Sports.